Straight Red Card, part 2. I guess it's part 2. No, is it part 1? It's part 1, Brett.
One for now, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing so many shows today, it gets confusing. But, all right, USA versus Venezuela. All right, that was exciting. That last-minute goal by our good friend Rico Clark. And who the hell saw that coming? In fact, if you were on Facebook, when Rico Clark came on, I counted at least 12 negative remarks on various U.S. Soccer-related Facebook pages from people who said, "Oh God, not him."
It's such a shame too, because he's a talented center midfielder. He's just plagued by his recent World Cup performances.
Yep.
And a lot of people are holding that against him. I mean, people seem to forget that a year prior to that in Confederations Cup, he was one of the stars. I mean, he had a stellar Confederations Cup. So.
Yeah. Well, let's not overplay what he did. I mean, he scored, right? I mean, that is important. But, that could have been a number of different guys on the end of that header, depending on where Jones put it. And it would just happen to be that today was, Clark's day. And that's great. I'm glad he did it. I still don't think it gives him, not much more than a morsel's chance of making the actual final, the next, U.S. men's national team in the next World Cup. I think
there are too many options at center midfield at this point.
Yeah.
He might get another call up and another look. There's nothing really negative about his play. It was just,
yeah,
he's getting to that point of his career where club career is going to be pretty much it, unless he can really step it up.
Yeah, I agree. And let's talk about the people at the beginning of the game. They were really criticizing De La Garza because he had, as they put it on, and I think Twellman put it this way too, poor anticipation on the wing, and that, I thought that he needed to be more ready for some of the passes that came to him out in the wing. I don't think that he had a great game. But can I point out one thing? One of the reasons that De La Garza had such a hard time finding anybody to pass to once he had the ball is that Zusi, at least at the beginning of the first half, was doing nothing to help him out. But he didn't run to open space. Zusi was not available. He wasn't there. And I guess it didn't change much when Breck switched with Zusi, but I frankly was not, outside of the set pieces, very impressed with Graham Zusi last night.
I thought he had some flashes of quality. A lot of people are asking if he's going to be the next quality winger U.S. produces. I mean, he's already 26. He's not even a winger by trade. Yeah. He plays more of a central position. Mm-hmm. I thought AJ got kind of a raw deal. I thought he did well defensively, although technically speaking, Venezuela never really pressured, never really pushed forward.
Yep.
The defense was never really on pressure.
Yeah.
They had a couple of opportunities, but nothing really serious. But AJ, I think he had a couple that I think a lot of people were complaining about is he had a couple really questionable touches in the first half, but I thought he had a decent game. I didn't think he was out of his element. And as far as your comment, as far as being able to anticipate the play or the pass to him, I think it was Twellman who mentioned this, but AJ actually came out and stated that he's defense first.
Well, yeah.
And we're not used to seeing that with our wingbacks, where we have Chandler, we have Gerundolo, we have Lehigh. We have players who are used to running forward. Even Bornstein and Pierce Tunikson are used to running forward to getting into the attack. It just seems like AJ is pointing out that I'm not that type of a defensive player, which is probably why he doesn't play. He'll fill in wing back, but he plays He played more central this past season for Los Angeles.
So is De La Garza trying his best to attempt to not be a candidate for future World Cup teams by saying something that stupid? Because frankly, hey, listen, Brett, at this level, this is a world in class level, all right? And I'm glad that, and Twellman said a lot of dumb things last night, but one of the dumb things that he said was point that out and make it a good thing. Listen, if you're playing world-class soccer and you're playing World Cup soccer, and you're a right back, and that's frankly the only position that De La Garza is going to qualify for if he wants to play on this team. He's going to have to be more than defense first. He's going to have to be offensive, and one of the things he showed last night was a lack of anticipation. People were sending him leading passes out on the right back, out to him on the right, and he was like nowhere even ready. He didn't anticipate those passes at all, and that's fine. The other problem he had in the second half was he didn't cross the ball when he had the opportunity several times. Pull the trigger, pass the ball. You got Breck Shea in the box. You got Wondolowski in the box. Cross that sucker. And maybe that's not his strength. He just counted himself out in my eyes for future teams.
Well, and we played, and mind you, difference in level altogether, but we played Bocanegra out left, and he's not very much I'm going to push forward into the attack unless it's a set piece or a corner kick.
Well, I agree with that, but look at how weak the left back position is. I mean,
that's
why.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I think, in all honesty, as far as our right back candidates are concerned, we're not even concerned with finding another right back option. We've got we're three deep right now.
Right.
And, these are all. You have Chandler, Lehigh, you have Cherundolo.
Yep.
You have three solid candidates that play that position the way you want it to. In all honesty, outside of Camp Cupcake, I don't know if AJ is really going to get much of an opportunity.
You know what?
Regardless of if he's more offensive minded, I just don't think it's going to happen.
Take Lehigh out of that for me, personally. But
come on! Prior to the injury, Lehigh had some really stellar performances.
He had some decent performances. I wouldn't say they were stellar.
His first couple, I would chalk up to first national team jitters. But especially once he got when he was playing out left for the Gold Cup, I thought he was really solid, and I think our left back spot got opened up whenever Bornstein got put back there.
And that's for sure.
Mexico forced everything to that left side.
But how much of improvement do you need to make in order to be an improvement over Jonathan Bornstein? I'm just saying Lehigh was fine, but I don't think he's now. He needs to show me more to be the next left or right back.
I'm listing him as depth here at this point. I'm not saying he should step up and be a starter right now. I'm just saying that as far as our backs are concerned, those are the three. You can even lump in Johnson, who's getting playing time with his club at left back as well.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I'm just throwing it up as depth that De La Garza probably doesn't stand much of a chance of pushing forward unless it's a Camp Cupcake.
Yeah. Well, Tight Shirt Twellman said a number of odd things last night, and that including where he said at the end of the first half, earlier on, he said De La Garza and Zusi were having their way on the right. They were? What game was he watching, Brett? What game was he watching? They were not having their way on the right side. That just blew me away.
Like I said, Zusi had some plays. And then he had some really questionable plays.
Well, Twellman called Zusi solid.
Yeah,
he wasn't.
I wouldn't say solid.
No, he wasn't solid. At the beginning of the game, he made some very questionable passes that were picked off. They did not dominate the right side. And then later on, when Zusi got the ball on the right wing in the second half, he should have passed it to Wondolowski, who was standing there in the center of the box waiting for the pass. And this is later in the game. One more pass. I kept saying that all night last night. One more pass. And I know and I know Klinsmann wants him to pull the trigger, right? I know that. But come on. Sometimes one more pass will make it a tap-in goal. You know what I mean? And that would have been a tap-in for Wando, although Wando's had problems with tap-ins for the U.S. national team.
I was saying he missed. I know of one time he's missed one.
Yeah. Well, was there anybody else, who? I mean, the big question of the night after the game was over was, who out of all these guys has a real shot at making the 23-man roster? Going into the next World Cup. Assuming that we qualify.
You mean outside of the normal contenders that are already playing for the A squad? Outside of like Shea, outside of Jones.
I mean, we haven't even listen, and that's exactly what I'm saying. And you're right, Jones and Shea. I'm telling you right now, those are the only two. And Jones, we didn't even mention Jones, but he really needs to be mentioned. He was awesome. He was awesome last night. He was awesome.
Outside of maybe a handful of blunders, I thought he was probably the man of the match. I thought wearing the captain's bands, he really stepped it up.
You're gonna make blunders when you're the only guy taking chances in a lot of ways in the middle of the field.
The one thing I really liked about Jones was actually turned out to be one of his blunders. He got the ball, he turned, and he passed it literally right to a Venezuelan midfielder.
Yeah, that was a big one.
He went over there, and he took him out.
Yep.
No, it was a foul. It was, as they mentioned, as the
professional.
Mentioned, it was a very professional foul. He knew he screwed up, so he had to stop the play.
Yep.
And he pulled the yellow card. It wasn't stupid. It was something he had to do. He had to stop it.
Absolutely, and it was very professional. He didn't do it in an aggressive way where he'd snap the guy's leg in half, like some guys who play for the Dutch team. He did a professional foul, and he got up and he played the rest of the game. He wore the captain's armband last night, and it was a good decision. He was the field general last night. You have to give Germany Jones, as he's called, credit for exceptional play.
Who would you give it to over him?
Who could you give it to over him? Shea was so up and down and erratic last night. He would be great, and then he'd be horrible, and then he'd be great, and then you just, it wasn't consistent play from Breck Shea. Not something. But you did mention the two guys, and people are going to say, well, those are the only two guys, Brett and Derek, that have a legitimate chance at making the 23-man roster. Yeah.
Well, and I've got to say
that is it.
I've got to say, as I enjoyed the back line play. I did too. Like we mentioned earlier, I don't think AJ is going to stand a chance, and I really don't think Pierce is going to stand a chance, as we mentioned the depth of the wingbacks as is.
Right.
However, I thought Cameron and Parkhurst played really well together. They did, like I said beforehand, they weren't really tested that much, but they did well as far as cleaning up most of the anything that came across them.
Right.
They maintained possession. They didn't just boom the ball up the field or anything like that. So they played the Klinsmann style of center back. As far as our center backs are concerned, we're unbelievably thin. We got Gooch, we got Boca, we got Goodson, and then it's question mark.
Yeah.
And some of our center backs are older. Some of them are.
What about Whitbread though? He's playing fantastic.
There's a person that deserves to get a shot.
Yeah, and he will. He will. I guarantee it. He will. He's playing so good for Norwich.
I stumbled across the Chelsea game earlier today, just late in the game, but from what I saw and from what the announcers were saying, Whitbread had a really great game.
Yeah, he did, and he's been playing well ever since he came back from the injury. Kind of shaky at the beginning when he came back, but really good after that. Here's the thing I was going to say, though, and I should have said this with exception, because, all right, Bunbury and Sapong and Zusi and Cameron, all of these guys, in my eyes, they have a chance at making the squad if the following thing happens. They all go to Europe and play, because I'm going to be honest right now, and this is true, Brett. You look at the number of MLS players that make and have been making the A squad for the U.S. national team, and it is going to continue to dive and dive and dive. I'm saying 2 to 3 MLS players make the next United States men's national team squad. 2 to 3, which isn't far off from what it was last time, frankly. It's just going to get smaller and smaller. So if you're Jeff Cameron, and I've mentioned this before, or you're Sapong, or you're Zusi, or you're Bunbury, or you're Shea, and Shea's already working on this, we already know, you got to get your ass overseas and playing in a decent league. Go to Holland, go to Germany, go somewhere where you can gain some experience. A lot of guys want to go to the EPL, of course, because if you don't do that, guess what? Your chances of making the United States national team are slim to none, and Slim just left the building.